Submerged podcast with Camila and Benji. This is episode 7, and if you have not checked out our past episodes, they are up and running on Spotify, Anchor, and YouTube.
Yes, welcome back. We had a kind of an epic fail with our first taping, but we have the professional engineers here figuring it out. So hopefully this is coming to you now on YouTube, and it's a pleasure to be with you. We are trying to dispel all the vicious rumors online that this is not my teenage daughter and I am her father, and we're here having raw, real, refreshing, sometimes explicit. We've explained that in the past episodes. This is not for everybody, we understand. But the point is, we're talking about all sorts of nonsense, all sorts of themes, submerged wise, so whether we're at the surface of a theme or whether we're really deep into it, we hope we'll keep you entertained during that time. And where, I think you already mentioned it, but where can people find us? What can they do to support us?
Yes, so you can go follow us on Instagram at Submerged Podcast, run by me, of course. And you can check us out on YouTube at Submerged Podcast TV and on Spotify at Submerged Podcast. We hope you enjoy.
Beautiful. So today, it's a music theme, right? It's pop culture. And this one has been a long time coming for me. What would be the right adjective, Camila, to describe how pumped and psyched your father is on this one?
I don't really have an adjective. All I have to
Ecstatic?
say is he's been insane about this episode.
Insane?
Since about last week, he's like, we need to do an Aaaaaa episode. And I'm like, okay.
So you just heard it. We are doing an Aaaaaa episode. We are calling this Aaaaaa, rediscovering the genius of Aaaaaa. Because from my perspective, and I'll explain during this podcast, I feel that this is a completely misunderstood band. And they did not get the respect and the appreciation here in the United States, which I think they did receive abroad, and we'll talk about that. And as we are celebrating actually about 40 years since the group was created. And so they are on their official last tour, but they always say that. Yes, they've had 3 different comebacks, 3 or 4 if you want to really count. But they were in New York City. They sold out Radio City Music Hall. They were 3 nights in LA. And before that, they were in Latin America. Yeah. They got major love in Mexico, in Chile, in Argentina. And then they'll be finishing off in the UK. But unfortunately, they're not coming here, much to my chagrin and sadness.
You're canceled.
No, they're not canceled. So this is my love letter to Aaaaaa. And who are the 3 members of Aaaaaa, Camila? Let's reintroduce them to the United States.
Okay, I can't say their last name, so I'm going to go on a first name basis. And I'm going to let you butcher their last name.
Sure.
But there's Morten, Paul, and Magne.
So that's Morten Harket, the lead singer. You have Paul Wakhtar Savoy, who is the kind of guitarist, the person who's actually written most of the lyrics, and that's a very important point of our podcast here. And Magne Furulhomen. I probably killed that, Magne. Magne, I love you. You're unbelievable. I'm sorry if I massacred your name. I'm not Norwegian. We are more from a Romance language background. Please forgive us. So, as they are embarking on releasing a new album actually in the fall called True North, it's interesting. Paul said, well, we have a slightly heterogeneous history. And instead of fighting each other for 3 months in a normal studio, we wanted to give this kind of a live feel. So what they're doing, they're taping, from what I understood, with the Arctic Philharmonic. And here's this North theme, right? Which is very prevalent in their music and attached to actually 2 of the members. I believe it's Paul and Morten, but it could be also Magne based on his agricultural projects that he's doing. And so they're taping with a live orchestra. So I'm really excited about this. A lot of their songs incorporate orchestra, right? And you, as being in a band, you can appreciate that emotion, that mixing, that live feel. Yeah. So, I wanted to bring you back to when the group was formed in 1982 and why we're celebrating 40 years. it seems that these guys were in some ways fated to meet. As individuals, they're very creative, and I'll talk about that. I hope you understand who they are. But actually, coming from a tragic perspective, and I told you about this in the car, Magne's father was a jazz trumpeter, and he was unfortunately killed in an airplane accident in 1969. So Magne was only 6 years old. And they say that Morton, the lead singer, witnessed this accident.
He was in the car with his dad. His dad's a doctor, so his dad ended up turning around and driving to the crash site. So yeah.
So how dramatic! Morton witnesses this accident, and this is 13 years before they get together, right? And so here you're talking about, from an astrological standpoint, what are they? Two
Virgos and a Scorpio.
Two Virgos and a Scorpio. Very interesting mix, because you just saw in the quote I gave you, they mentioned the fighting. Yeah. They've mentioned it in documentaries, but what I want to say is, I feel that these guys function well individually, but do so much better together as a band. Time has obviously taught them to learn how to respect and love each other, and also work professionally. But one thing that people need to understand, Paul is the one who writes most of the lyrics. And Q Magazine actually said that he is the best unknown lyricist of his generation. And we're going to try to bring up that point, both your experience and then my experience. But then you've got Morton, who is this driving force behind the band. And he's the one, when he heard Magne and Paul, who had a group called Bridges, and were mostly playing more punkish, and they actually had a punkish version of Take On Me. Yeah. And when Morton heard this, he said, "That's our hit. That is a universal riff." Yeah. That the first time you heard it.
So Morton has the ear and.
Well, Morton has the ear and the drive and an ego for them. You know, he saw them as superstars, right? And we were just doing some math with you and Abuelo and Abuela the other day with probabilities. What is the probability that you would have a band from Norway of a 5.5 million population be successful not only in Europe, but mostly stateside? Very low, right? Yeah. If you did your math formula, I think we'd find a very low score. But that's the driving force behind individuals and their creativity. So again, going back, Paul and Magne had a group called Bridges. He heard it. He said, well, this is going to be our hit. But a lot of people don't know that Take On Me was a long process.
It was like 4 YouTube videos for Take On Me. It's like...
Yeah, there's actually a documentary, I think 3 or 4 parts, explaining, and I didn't even know this, and when I heard about it, I thought it was fascinating. There were multiple attempts from the record label, Warner Brothers, to promote it. They had like several failed attempts to like upload Take On Me and like see how people would react to it. There was like 3 failed attempts, 3 or 4, I think, before like it became a hit. Yeah, there was actually a video before the groundbreaking video, because everybody has a visceral reaction to Take On Me, and especially that video at the time in 84, 85, because it was so groundbreaking, and mixing in the animation with the live shots, and also this love story, kind of other dimensional. I loved in the documentary, by the way, that he reunited with the girl. I don't know if you saw that, in the cafe where they shot, and apparently the rumor is that they did date. Yeah, so it was a bit of an awkward thing, because he's been married 3, 4 times. I don't know the exact number. He has 7 kids, I think. At least this is Morton. But yeah, it was a very emotional reunion. But yes, a lot of people don't know that Take On Me was. It didn't just spring out of the blue. This was a seed that was planted with a punkish sound. Then they go and mix in the synth pop, which they became known for. And then these multiple attempts. But here we are, 1.3 billion views later, a short 3 to 4 part documentary, and probably the most recognizable song of their repertoire. But, you know, to me, obviously Take On Me as a 9-year-old was so impressive. when you listen to Take On Me and your generation is discovering them, or you're discovering them, what do you think of that song? Is it still got the appeal?
It's a good song. It's a great song. Like it's like my hype up song. Like, or if I'm like doing my schoolwork, I'll jam out my work and I'll listen to Take On Me, and it's like, I don't know, it just reminds me of an 80s montage where it's like, I need to get my work done. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just go, go, go. That song's like go, go, go. And it also like reminds me of you. I don't know why. I mean, I guess maybe because I grew up around it.
Right.
And that whole group, but I don't really think people listen to Aaaaaa as much as I do.
Yeah, I maybe subconsciously or consciously wanted you to love this group because I think I'm the only person in the family that has this obsession or infatuation. That's why I called it my love letter.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tell people that they released 10 other albums, right? And I was showing to Abuela and Abuela and also the family the other day, they wrote and also had the theme song to the James Bond movie in 1988 called The Living Daylights, if you want to check that out. They also are in the Guinness Book of Records because at a massive concert called Rock in Rio of January 1991, they brought in 198,000 people in the audience. There were other major bands there. I don't know if it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but it was a massive concert at the time. But Aaaaaa drew the largest crowd. They're loved in Brazil. The Brazilians love them. And so what was sad is that there was no press coverage about how massive the audience was at Rock in Rio. And another injustice that I feel, they have played a couple of times, if not 2-3 times, at the Nobel Peace Prize concert. And in 1998, they played their new song, Summer Moved On. They also did another song. And Summer Moved On was #1 in 17 countries. But guess what? The US, Fox TV, and the UK omitted them out of the montages or the presentation of the Nobel Peace Prize concert. Major injustice on...
Yeah.
Exactly. And so during that time and these breakups, they've also released solo albums. Morten has had 5, including I think 2 Norwegian projects. I mean, we're talking about a guy with a 5-octave vocal range. What do you think of his voice?
Oh, it's great. It's like, I think that he has a lot of range, so he can sing different genres and different styles of music. Like some of his songs are super poppy, super like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then you go to like Someone Moved On or Lifelines and it's like some emo shit. Like he like taps into his voice and he's like really just I don't know how to...
He can go deep like Roy Orbison.
He can go...
And then suddenly he's a freaking angel on top of a Norwegian mountain that you want to fly away with.
Yeah.
You know, he's got this Nordic choir boy feel to him.
Yeah.
And obviously he's 62, 63 now, but he was a... Camila, please.
He's a looker. He's a looker.
He's a looker, right? But you know what? Paul Shire, I think Magné's a looker too in his own genre, but Morten looked like an angel.
Morten's my favorite.
Morten, yeah, obviously.
No hate to the rest of them.
But to give credit to Paul and Magné too, Paul was also in a solo band called Savoy that I think he created with his wife. He also paints, and apparently he has a funky style where he doesn't paint until it's already in the frame. Virgo.
Wait, what?
Yes, apparently he can only paint it when it's in the frame. That's what I read. Maybe it's a rumor. Paul, contact me. Let me know if I'm off. And then Magné, even more impressive, is a visual artist. Magné has the largest ceramic sculpture that he did in 2016 called Imprints. And also, guess what? He decorated 11 floors of the Norway cruise ship with glass like sea sheets. These guys are prolific individually as artists.
Damn.
But when they come together, it's Aaaaaa. So I want people to understand that these are dedicated, very talented individuals. Yeah. But obviously when they come together, despite the little tensions, they create beautiful music, right? So I hope that helps people understand these guys. Now, I want you to rediscover them maybe through my over-intellectualizing. That's how much love I've got for these guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about the country that they're from, the culture, and I really tapped into their lyrics because I think Paul is completely underappreciated, and also the folklore behind Norwegian folklore. And I think people are going to appreciate this. Some harkbacks to our old
Wait
episode.
till y'all hear this. Like, I was in the car and he started telling me about this, and I was like, what? Like, I'm driving, I'm trying not to like crash the car right now, and I'm like, what did you just say? Like,
Yeah, she's got her permit, by the way. So I'm in the car, by the way.
Yeah.
So really quick before we go to lyrics and those words, Norway is a Scandinavian country. It's northeast of the UK if you're trying to situate it in your head. If you follow southwest to northeast, you bump into Sweden and Finland. It's very dramatic as a landscape. Mountains, glaciers, deep coastal fjords. So fjords are long, deep, narrow bodies of water that reach very far inland. And so you've got about 1,000 of these in Norway. I mean, so you've got now Paul, Magne, and Morten living in this environment, dramatic nature, water, mountains, greenery. The capital is Oslo. It's about 5.5 million population. And the oldest finds in terms of stone tools between 9,500 to 6,500 BC was in Finnmark. And Finnmark is this area that you follow all the way up north and almost borders with Finland. And that has a connection to Aaaaaa and two of the members, as I said, and why their album's big called True North. But so, what are we feeling here? The ancient aspect of this country, right?
Feeling Viking.
We're feeling Viking. So anybody who watched on Netflix Viking Valhallas or even on the History Channel Vikings between the 8th and the 10th century is the Viking Age. And these explorers discovered Iceland by accident. Just by accident. Just on a small boat. Let's go to Iceland.
Whoops.
And this is way before Bjork, all the Bjork and anything else.
Yeah.
And by the way, on their way to the Faroe Islands, they also made it all the way to Vinland, which is Newfoundland in Canada. And so those rumors about them being on North American territory is true. So we're talking about something that's in their blood that allows them to reach far, to go forward, and to have imagination to like, hey, we might die on this trip, but it's going to be all right, right?
Yeah.
So what you're seeing here is that the dramatic landscape, the darkness, and also the moodiness of this culture and this Viking blood, for me, starts to show up in the lyrics. And let me read to you from their first album, Hunting High and Low, the title track, Hunting High and Low. And he's, Morten sings, and through the words of Paul, and sometimes Magne would contribute, to find her again, upon this my dreams are depending. Through the dark, I sense the pounding of her heart. Next to mine, she's the sweetest love I could find. So I guess I'll be hunting high and low. High, there's no end to the lengths I'll go to. Viking shit, right?
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it. He's this beautiful little blonde looking choir boy, and he's writing these very dark lyrics. This is some fucking Daniel Day-Lewis, Last of the Mohican shit, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up because to me it really is something powerful.
Yeah.
Give us one or two examples of, from your standpoint, the lyrics that you've chosen from your perspective as a teenager, and that maybe people will appreciate, or your generation might finally understand this group. So give me a couple examples coming up.
Okay, well, I didn't write down a bunch of, like, a huge stanza of lyrics, but my favorite song that they wrote, and my favorite lyrics from that song, is the song Train of Thought. It's basically,
Train of Thought is from their first album too.
From their first album
Hunting
too.
High and Low.
And it's literally about a dude coming home from work. And my favorite lyrics, it's just one line, and it's just, he likes a bit of reading on the subway home. I don't know why. It's just my favorite lyrics out of their whole group, because it's so random to me, but they made it into such a good song. And it's like, my go-to song is like I'm walking down the hallway and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to work, and I have this blasting in my head was like, he likes a bit of reading on the subway home. I'm like, yeah, he does. So that's like my.
And so for people to understand, train of thought is about a regular man just going to work. So why train? Who has these random thoughts, right? And they're just describing his commute.
Yeah.
But it's to a synth pop, and then the crescendo and Morton's voice there is it's a beautiful little song.
And then he has their little intro with their little flute. It just reminds me of Peter Pan. It's like some weird flute shit going on in the beginning of the song, and I'm like, it's catchy. I'm here for it. You know, like they incorporate all these like kind of weirdish like instruments and weirdish parts that you wouldn't expect in the songs. Like they have a part in "You Are the One" where it's a whole trumpet solo for like I think like 8 measures, something like that, and I was like, what the trumpet? I didn't even think the trumpet would fit in that part of the song, but you know, they just like it just reminds me of a Crest commercial for some reason. Like their songs, some of their songs remind me of a Crest commercial. Like it's just like,
well,
like woo, and then
I think what you're bringing up is a very interesting point about this band is that the memories that I have as a 9-year-old listening to Take On Me, but mostly Scoundrel Days, the second album. We're going to talk about that because it was kind of a still synth pop, but it was a radical departure in the lyrics, and I'll bring it up both romantically, but also super dark. Oh, and I think that's where the U.S. maybe disconnected from them a little bit.
Like, this is not Take On Me.
So I wanted to compliment your contribution there with, despite this darker, moodier I just explained with Norway, they know how to write love. And especially Paul does, I think, even though Morton has some beautiful songs on his solo albums, but again, in Scoundrel Days, the second album, the song I've Been Losing You, this, and I quote, "It wasn't the rain that washed away, rinsed out the colors of your eyes. Putting the gun down on the bedside table, I must have realized." So look at this shit. He starts off with probably one of the most beautiful lines. Rinsed out the colors of your eyes, the rain. So the rain very prevalent. And then there's a gun by the bedside table. He's
suicidal, guys.
There's a suicidal piece to it, and we know how dramatic love can be, but
like, what?
This is the second album, and I'm going to bring it back to Scoundrel Days, because Scoundrel Days came after Hunting High and Low and Take On Me, and I don't think many people appreciate or understood. And here's another one from Maybe, which I think is very cute. It's, "I don't know, but it's been said, decisions travel far from heart to head." So me, you know, the interpretation for me there is, hey, sometimes we have these emotional springs, and we want to love somebody, we feel it's a crush, but sometimes what we do with that information from here to here is a massive disconnect in our brain. So I think also very interesting lyrics there. Camila, take us through some others.
Well, okay, so my second favorite song, yes, I have a list. "The Blood That Moves the Body." Weird title.
Weird title, very weird title.
The intro. What the heck is the intro? I suggest everybody goes and listens to the intro of that song because it's weird. It's like some weird ass horror movie intro, and you're like, what? And then you get into the song, you're like, oh, okay, this is good. But my favorite part of that song is the orchestra part of the song. Like, they'll finish the chorus, and then there's this whole orchestra part, and then it goes back to being like poppy. So the song will change, like, I guess, like
rhythm, cadence.
Yeah, rhythm. And it'll go from like poppy to like slowish, you know? But I really appreciate the orchestra part because I played bass for 8 years, and it was very like a bass heavy orchestra part.
True.
So I'm very appreciative of.
There's some strings to it too.
I like bands that are able to incorporate like instruments like that because, you know, obviously I played it, you know, and I think that if you do it well, then it sounds really good.
The Blood That Moves the Body, another great, and that was from their third album, Stay On These Roads. So before I move to another theme to understand their lyrics and we can continue digging there, let's talk about that transition from Take On Me, from the Hunting High and Low album to Scoundrel Days. I'm going to read you the lyric first. This is off the title track, the first song on Scoundrel Days. It's called Scoundrel Days. Already a little pushed up title. People are like, I need to go check the dictionary what scoundrel means.
Yeah,
a
right.
scallywag.
Okay.
And there's a bit of Bowie talking before it launches into the song. And I'll read it and then I'll explain the scenario I had in my head. So I quote, "Was that somebody screaming?
Okay.
It wasn't me for sure. I lift my head from uneasy pillows, put my feet on the floor. Cut my wrist on a bad thought or head for the door. Outside on the pavement, the dark makes no noise." This is the first fucking title track on the second album. Now, you know where I'm going with this. I got to picture the 13-year-old girl with her friends at the party with braces and dancing to Take On Me. She's like, "Oh, Morton, he's so cute." You know everybody had the fucking posters of him, right?
Yeah,
they had posters
yeah.
everywhere of Aaaaaa, and they were like digging in on Morton. You know, there was some wet dreams over Morton. Let's be honest, let's be honest. And so the 13-year-old girl, 2 years later, they've announced they're coming to the US. They got Scoundrel Days. She is in line at 5 o'clock in the morning at Tower Records, and that's making me very old, or Virgin in Europe,
I don't
maybe.
know what that is,
She doesn't even know what that is. Those are fucking record stores, people. And so here she has Sam Goody is another one. She's waiting in Sam Goody. She can't wait to buy Scoundrel Days. This is the first song she hears. She's like, "Dad, Mom, what happened?" She's crying in the basement. She's like, "Was that somebody screaming? Why is this a Japanese horror movie?
Yeah.
I don't understand." And we're going to help you understand through the next segment why this came about. But I just thought that was
that's funny.
why I think in the US, somebody must have freaked out at 15 years old, be like, "¿Qué pasó? What happened?
I know, right?
I thought I was going to dance, but now you want to cut my wrist on a bad thought." So, what you're getting from Camila and I is this is a complex pop group. They're not your regular pop
They're
group.
not. They don't stick to one. I don't feel like they stick to one type of song, like one genre. Like they don't have a pattern to them about their songs. I think every song and every album is very unique and different sounding, and I think we can appreciate that.
But you can understand these lyrics being dark. So I wanted to, this darkness, this imagination, where does it come from? We are obviously born into an environment, into a country. You can't help, if you're Cuban like Abuelo, the heat, the ocean, we've talked about the amount of coffee, all that jazz music, the sun, drums, that permeates, it sticks in you. It's your second skin. So you have to think the country and also maybe the tales they've heard influences them. So what I did a little research around Scandinavian folklore, mythological creatures. And this is some crazy shit. It's awesome, awesome. And you're gonna recognize, Camila, from the books that I've read to you, the French tales, or even the Brothers Grimm, that you're gonna find these themes in Game of Thrones. You're gonna find these themes in Viking Valhallas. Trolls. Everybody knows about the troll under the bridge. You have to do him a favor. You have to outwit him. Trolls are prevalent in their books.
Yeah.
Second, elves, or as the Norway call alv, A-L-V. Again, Magne, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. And these are forest creatures. In the mire, they come in the mist at dawn. Huldra, Huldra, a forest wife, a woman. She's also a dangerous seductress.
Oh, okay.
She lures men with their charm. We're back to Ulysses.
Here we go to the women.
Here we go with the mythology.
Are they legal?
They're legal, not like the Japanese, because they do not mention their age. So these women are legal, dangerous seductress.
Nice.
So they lure men. Check this out. These women sometimes have long cow or fox tails that they hide under their skirts. And so if they're able to seduce and lure the men, and they're able, but check the religious, if they're able to marry in church, the fucking tail falls off and they become human. Come on, that's nice. So that's...
It's nice till you figure out your fiance got a wife, like a
but
like a fox.
The tail falls off. You gotta marry her in church.
But ain't no way nobody married like a fox dog's tail? Like, you gotta have sex.
She hides
and
it
you're
under
like, oh, you have a tail.
She hides
like,
it under
what?
the skirt so you don't see it. Here's another one. The Nokken. Nokken, there's a Nokken, is a fresh water dwelling creature. Is it an otter? It's not. Maybe it is. So the Nok, so that's the singular, Nokken plural, the Nok, plays a fiddle. Plays a fiddle to lure his victims onto thin ice. So then he can drag. No.
Oh wow.
The Nok
What a change.
can be a shapeshifter. He can transform into horse or man to lure his victims. Now explain to me, how can you have a horse playing a fiddle, be like, hey, come on thin ice? These guys have an imagination that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
They have been living in forests as clans in the fjord. I just love it.
Yeah.
Here's another one, Selma. Not Selma Hayek with the big boobs and 4'9". Selma is a legendary sea serpent. 8 miles long, 13 kilometers for my Euro folks long. So she would do really well in Detroit. Shout out to M&M, 8 Mile. And so I've just given you 5 examples. Listen to the titles of the tracks of Aaaaaa-haaaaa. Dragonfly, Cry Wolf, Looking for the Whales, Foot of the Mountain. Do not tell me that the folklore and the ambiance and environment, country you're from, doesn't affect how you view life, how you write. And so, just to give you again an example of lyrics, this is massive shout out to Paul, Waktar Savoy. Unbelievable. Here is from the song Cry Wolf. And I quote, he came from where the winds are cold and truth is seen through keyholes. Strange longings never sleep. Oh, now he's come where no heart beats. Do not tell me there's not a ghoulish, ghost, undead feel. Truth is seen through keyholes, spying like on your parents or in fables, trying to see, to get those secrets. Harry Potter looking through also the prism of, Dumbledore and the memories. For me, it's undeniable, the influence. And maybe I'm over-intellectualizing. You tell me. Another one in Looking for the Whales, which I love. He writes, I found an angel beached outside my door. Don't you set those lonely eyes on me. So there's a mixture there of kind of Medusa with the lonely, don't look at me because I'll be seduced or lured into your charm. It's an angel, but she's beached like a whale in front of his door. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. For me, it's just massive, massive credit.
Yeah.
I'll continue this theme and then, Camila, I'll let you conclude today. There's a number six. The Nisei or Tomte, apparently in South Sweden they call Tomte, the Nisei. This is a benevolent white. So what's a white? It's a mythical, sentient being, often undead. Often undead, so they can be dead.
Okay.
Often undead.
You said a bean?
Being, a being,
oh,
like a human.
I thought you said like a bean. Oh.
Now this is the best part. I love this one.
Oh, wow.
So I'm calling the Nisei or the Tomte the fucking mafia of all creatures.
Oh.
This is like an Armenian-Cuban creature, and I'll explain why. He is the moral capitalist creature or the moral transactionalist. I think he's the... Let me explain. So the Nisei goes to farmland, and then he watches over the house, the farm, and the barn while the farmer and his family safely sleep.
Oh.
How cool is that?
That's nice.
How cool is that? But here's the deal.
Oh, great.
The Nisei expects 2 things.
Okay.
Number 1, you must set food aside for him.
Okay.
You gotta feed him.
Okay.
That bitch is hungry.
So he's like a dog.
No, you gotta feed him. Second, this is the best part. The Nisei expects, and check this out, Abuelo, the Nisei expects the farmer to also reciprocate in his level of fucking taking care of this farm. He expects the farmer to also take care of his family, farm, and animals. if the Nisei suspects that the farmer is completely not paying attention to his family, his estate, and also the animals and treating them right, he starts to sabotage up to the point that he might do tricks to kill you. Those are the consequences of fucking with a Nisei. So you accept his love and his attention, but it better be reciprocated at the highest level. Look, he's a moral transactionalist. He wants to be fed, but he also abused. I thought that might be going far with Aaaaaa. I couldn't find any lyrics on the Nisei, but I just find the Norwegian folklore fascinating. And to conclude on this folklore thing, Camila, and I know I've been talking a lot, I told you how passionate I was about this. There are the kings of folklore writing for Norway, Peter Christian Absorensen, I'm going to massacre that again, and Jørgen Moe, or Moe, inspired by the Brothers Grimm. They wrote a story. I won't go into the details of the story, but it's called East of the Sun.
This one's a good one.
West of the... No, there's a bear, there's a troll, there's a princess, there's a curse, there's many twists and turns. That'll be for another show. But
look it up.
But
go look it up.
Go look it up. East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Guess what the 1990 album of Aaaaaa is called?
East of the Sun, West of the Moon.
East of the Sun, West of the Moon. I couldn't invent it. When I went down this folklore path, I didn't expect to have this coincidence.
Yeah.
And guess what? On this album, there is a departure from that 80s poppier synth pop sound, despite the dark lyrics. We've already established that. They played with real instruments. They went into a live studio. It was produced by Ian Stanley from Tears of Fears. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Shout, if people know the songs of the 80s. And there's definitely in moodier tones. There's references to darker emotions. There's a lot of songs where rain is referenced. The actually title track of the thing is called Crying in the Rain, which is a cover. Yep. And I want to read to you the lyrics of East of the Sun, West of the Moon that I love. And to show you where Paul was going. This is mostly written by Paul, this album too, again. Yeah. So Paul must have had an interesting childhood. He's the most introverted out of the group, and I feel doesn't get his due. So again, shout out to Paul. And it says, another day leaves me aching. I try to wake up, but something's breaking. Here inside me, deep and hollow, a sound that no other sound could follow. I know the pain before the wound. East of the sun, west of the moon. That's poetry. That to me is poetry. I get goosebumps. Look at that shit. What? It's on camera. It's unbelievable. It makes me want to cry.
Oh my gosh.
So, and now maybe a little to finish off on a romantic note from that album. There's a song called Waiting for Her, and Morton sings, and I quote from I think Paul again wrote this, and when she's sleeping by my side, eyes closed, all knowledge trapped inside.
That's cute.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That means he's fucking stalking his wife at night and he's staring at her. No, I don't mean it. It's just to let you know that, we've always heard in cute romantic exchanges, like, what are you thinking? And there's a joke about the stereotype of women always like looking at her man and goes, I hope he's dreaming about me. And the man's like thinking about like other women, maybe he's thinking about cars. There's a lot of memes about that, but that captures it in a very romantic and beautiful way. So that concludes my folklore side. I want you, maybe Camila, to conclude with other songs and lyrics that you've come up with. And hopefully we've done a good enough job today to really get people passionate about this group. And they need to come to East Coast Florida. Please come. Come back to the US.
I'll go watch.
We'll go watch. I don't care if you come in a wheelchair. I couldn't care. I'll go see you.
Just come.
So go ahead, Camila.
Buy those tickets.
Take us out today.
Well, I like mostly, like, you really are like the romantic songs. I'm a really emotional person, so I like those like depressing songs. So my favorites are like Summer Moved On and Lifelines. We already talked about Summer Moved On, but Lifelines, I really enjoy that one because it's just, I don't know, it just makes me sad. Like,
why?
I don't know. Like, and then you see the music video and he's like standing there and they're like, I don't know how to explain it. They're moving him like.
No, what ended up happening in this video is, again, they went around kind of a village or a lake or a fishing town in Norway.
Yeah.
And the camera kind of followed the cycles of the seasons, which again are very big in their lyrics, and captured the snow, the sun, the spring, and then they impose Morten, Paul, and Magne at different stages.
There, yeah.
So what's the line that you like from Lifelines?
I don't have a line that I like because honestly I can't tell you that I understand really what
so it's
the
more
song
how
is
it makes you
talking
feel.
about, but it's for me these songs are more about how it makes me feel, because sometimes I just really don't understand what the hell they're talking about in the songs. Like Train of Thought, I don't know what they're talking about half the time. Like, why are we talking about a guy coming back from work? But for me it's the more emotional aspect where it's like it just makes me sad. Like those Summer Moved On and Lifelines are my two go-to like cry songs. And like me and my friend Summer, we have this thing where we like to send each other songs like that make us sad. We're not depressed, I promise. We just like songs that we like to cry to.
Sure, everybody wants a good cry.
So I sent her the song Summer Moved On, funny enough, because it has her name in the title. And I was like, she was the first friend that I actually got to listen to Aaaaaa and like it. I've tried
making new fans.
I know. I tried so many times at school to send it to my friends, and they're just like, this is some weird shit. And I'm like, okay. It's like, they're just like, are you okay when they like listen to the songs I send them? And I'm like,
so Camila, it's interesting. You've picked two songs from different albums. One Lifelines, and then the other one was Minor Earth, Major Sky. For Summer Moved On. And in Lifelines and Summer Moved On, we're talking about the change of seasons. We know that given the landscape, given also in the north, the sun stays, in the summer a very long time, but they also have dramatic changes. And so that's reflected in this song.
Yeah.
And in Lifelines, if you want to check it out, it's one chance to get back to the point where everything starts. And then he concludes that don't throw your lifelines away. So don't throw away the people that really care about you, friends, acquaintances, maybe strangers. People have lifelines. It's a very uplifting song to me, but I can see the melancholy that you're picking up on.
I don't know. I just find it really sad. But I also like Forest Fire.
Ooh, that's a good one on the Cast and Steel album from 2015.
Yeah, Cast and Steel. I think that's the one album where I have like a bunch of songs on there that I really like. But again, I like all of their songs, but I'm not going to go into detail because we do not have time for that. But Forest Fire, like that is, I think, my favorite hype up song. Like I have that. I think about number one.
You know why I think you like it? You went in Forest Fire.
Yeah.
They brought back a synth pop feel.
Yeah, it was a little poppy, like it's different, but it's still kind of like emo, like we are flames of the forest fire. What the hell does that mean? Like I don't know, but that gets me pumped.
Well, it's passion, it's danger, and he says in the lyrics, "We're flames in the forest fire, dancing from within. That's where we begin, and we will take you far and wide, and we fuel desire." So you can literally think of a forest fire, how it spreads and sometimes becomes uncontrollable. So is that love? Is that passion for your art? Yeah. And that was a comeback phase with that album. Yeah,
I think that's my favorite album.
And then just to finish off, Summer Moved On was done for the Nobel Peace Prize concert. And then in that song, he hits a note and stays like 30 seconds.
It's 20.03 seconds. That's the
right. 20.03 seconds in this falsetto, and you're just like, God damn this guy. I mean, and I think going back to the conversation we had between the two Virgos and the Scorpio.
Yeah.
You have Paul with these exquisite lyrics. Disturbing, maybe. Dark, yes. Influenced by the country, by the folklore in my mind, but no one can write like Paul. No one can sing like Morten. And that's why when people come together, they can have creative differences, and as they say, they might fight. But when you accept the beauty of each other, when you accept the strength, you become a fucking forest fire. Yeah. You're unstoppable. Yeah. So we're gonna conclude today. We are so happy we were able to reintroduce folks to Aaaaaa. If they give us a shout out, I might cry. I might.
Guys, tag them in the comments. Please. When I post on Instagram. at them, at every single artist.
I've been listening to these guys since I'm 9 years old. I've been trying to influence
He's
people.
obsessed, guys. Like his 40th surprise, the birthday party, we threw him a surprise party. I think "Take on Me" was like the third song that we put on, and he just started jogging on the dance floor. And I'm 10. I'm like, "Take on," and he's like jogging. He's like going off with his friends. I'm like, okay, you know.
So
he enjoys it.
Thank you very much again to everybody listening. Camila, where can people find us?
Yeah, you can go find us on Instagram at Submerge Podcasts, on YouTube at Submerge Podcast TV, and of course on Spotify at Submerge Podcast. And turn on those post notifications so you know when we post. We hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks.